Okay, so we continue with the China's reform and opening up. Okay, and lesson two will about the rural reform. Okay, so for the task sheet, actually, the first part are the introduction, which are nearly the same with lesson one. And then there will be a summary of reform and opening up. So here I will use a PowerPoint to for some revision to you. Okay, so lesson two will have three things: rural reform, three rural issues, and about the migrant workers. So in general, last lesson we have talked about what reform and opening up is. So actually, it can be divided into two things. Okay, within China, there will be domestic reform and then opening up in order for China to connect with the whole world. So last lesson we focus on the domestic reform, which is the enterprise reform. In general, there are less state-owned enterprises and relatively more privately owned enterprises. So that the enterprises actually have more freedom and they can have more focus on earning more profits. So which is more likely about money. But China, for China, this country with such many of population, food and farming is also a big issue for the farmers as well as all the citizens. So in the reform and opening up, there are also focuses on rural reform. To start with, I want you to think about one question, okay, before looking at the sources. If you were one of the farmers at that time, under the situation in source A, will you be more hardworking or less hardworking to grow crops? Let's take a look. Firstly, the China government adopted a mandatory procurement system and have a low procurement price at that time. What is mean by that? It means the government actually forced the farmers to sell the crops to them at a very low price. So if you're a farmer, will you be more hardworking and productive given that your products can only sell at a low price? Number two is about the collectivization, okay, which means nearly all the production are owned by the country and you have to work with the others and share the income. So, will you earn more if you are more hardworking? Okay, which means you have to share your income. Or will you earn nothing if you were lazy? As again, you can share your income. Okay. Number three is the setting up of the people's commune, okay, which means that the state actually will provide all of your daily needs. Initially, there was a good plan because the state wants you to just focus on your production and do not need to worry about your daily needs. However, imagine if you do not need to work hard for your daily needs, will you be as hard work as usual? Number four, the last few sentence, the main focus of the country. Okay, at that time the main focus was in some healthy industry, for example, steel or some big production, which you can earn more profits if you work inside it. But unfortunately, comparatively, if you work in the farming field, you cannot earn much income. So which job, okay, if you were a worker at that time, which job will you choose to? So do you think there should be any changes to solve the problems in the rural areas? Especially, we can imagine that the productivity was really, really low at that time. So here comes the rural reform, just like the opening up and other reforms, which start at the year 1978. Okay, so there was some amendments for the rural reform. The first one is to increase the share of agriculture in the state investment, which means in the past, okay, there are not much focus on the farming field, but now the country start to put more and more investment into it. The second one is to increase the price of buying your own crops, which means you can earn more if you grow more crops. The third one is to fix the quota of the products and then the development of rural markets, which means in the past, no matter how much you produce, the government will buy all of this at a very, very low price. But now, when the quota is fixed, if you are very hardworking, okay, you have many crops left, you can actually sell the rest of the crops in the rural markets so that you can earn more. And of course, you will be more hard work and want to produce more crops after that. Diversification of productions, which means you are free to produce what you need. Household responsibility system, okay, which means compared to the state-owned system in the past, you now actually responsible to your own land. Okay, no matter it has good harvest or not, it's actually only related to yourself. Okay, so if you are not hardworking, then you have nothing to eat, nothing to earn. So of course you will be more and more care about yourself. Last but not least, okay, there are more and more small business within the villages. Of course, have more business than people can exchange for what they need and have a better life. And starting from the year 1984, actually, the government continued with the reform, just have some little amendments respectively. For example, the price control is being further relaxed, and the rural residents are no longer forced to stay inside the village. Okay, they have relatively more freedom to move to the city to work, and then some extension of the household responsibility system. And also, we develop some rural areas, the poorer areas, to small cities, which means to make the villages become richer. And starting from 2003, the farmers even have the right to sell their farmlands. So some of the farmers may decide to change their jobs so that now they can sell their farmlands and wholeheartedly to do what they want. And then increase the export of agricultural products, not just means that the government now have more freedom to the farmers to sell whatever they want, but also imagine after selling to the government, selling to the rural markets, even after that you have some crops left in order to sell to the foreign countries. So you can imagine the productivity is now actually increasing for a very, very much scale. And starting from 2013, there are also many kinds of modernization in terms of agriculture uses. So here comes a class-based assignment 1. Again, just like lesson 1, okay, it will be free to the subject teachers, but just some reminders to you, okay. Just think of before 1978, okay, who was responsible for managing the farmland and the production activities? Comparatively, there are lower or higher productivity before and after 1978. How about the farmer lives? Okay. So here are some data about the output level and the population in China after the rural reform. So it is really successful. Firstly, there is a graph with some line chart and then some bar chart, in which there is actually more complicated concept called total factor productivity, in which means that the total factor productivity, which means that if you put one input, for example, one farmer, one land, or one tool into the production in the farmland, how many crops can you get? Okay, so the higher the number means the productivity will become higher. And you can see that in year like 1971 to 1990s, okay, the productivity is actually keep increasing. The productivity, okay, so which is the green bar, and then the output level also increasing. But after 1991, okay, the situation changed a little bit. Okay, so you may take a look at that in order to finish class-based assignment 2. And then the other data is that, okay, there are change in the percentage of population. Okay, do you think the urban population now has become more or less, and also the rural area? And then here comes some data about the workers in China. Okay, you can see that actually we can divide it into the bar chart and the line graph for doing some analysis. Okay, so for the bar chart, actually it indicates about the number of workers. Okay, in which you can see that the number of migrant workers are not a must for foreign workers, but only from some workers from different regions of China. Okay, so more and more workers now come to the city to work, and then the line graph indicates that actually the percentage, okay, of the growth of the migrant workers actually have a slower growth rate, but still the growth rate should be positive in number. Okay, so still more and more people from different regions come to the cities to work. Okay, but the trend is actually slowing down. So for the class-based assignment 2, actually, you can think of, okay, the changes you can find in source C to source E in terms of like productivity, output, the input number, like farmers or farmland into the farming production, about the number of people living in rural and urban area, as well as the number of migrant workers. Okay, in order to make the concept below more clear, I will give you the features first. Okay, so here you are. Okay, actually the agricultural productivity become higher, but there are also some problems arises, especially these three, which are very important. The first one is about the total agricultural output. Okay, it is actually, okay, although still high productivity, but the growth rate actually decreasing. Okay, less agricultural output. And then the input, for example, the number of farmers and the land for farming actually decreasing. Fewer people to work or to live in the village. Okay, so in fact, these kind of data, actually we can draw a conclusion. Maybe some of us have heard about it, which is called the three rural issues, 三農問題. Okay, so these are the three problems for the rural reforms. Okay, so the agricultural production actually in this year is in a decreasing trend. Okay, so if you are farmers, actually your income is decreasing. Okay, and then as we know that more people are attracted to the city because they can earn a higher income. So relatively, okay, if you are working in the rural area, okay, you will have relatively poorer income, okay, and fewer people will live inside the rural area, which will slow down the rural development. And also there is a decreasing in manpower, especially in the agriculture field. Okay, so these three actually slow down the agricultural development. And in Chinese, they are actually all related to 农, okay, all related to 农业, 农村 and 农民, okay. So these are the three rural issues that you can find after the rural reform. And in order to learn more, you can actually refer to your textbook, page 46 and 47 for more information. And then we return to page 6 of the task sheet. Okay, To earn a living, okay, some workers actually choose to move from the rural area to big cities to work. Okay, but are there only good impacts for them? Okay, took a quick look at the source. I have many wordings, but at first we can see something like less happy. And in general, for the workers, they will have long working hours, and then they will have some unhappy treatment by their boss. And the workers actually found that, okay, initially before they moved to the big city, they think there are much for them to play, to have fun. But now the situation is like, okay, they simply hard to make a living inside the big city, and they have simply very few opportunity for them to explore. Even for renting with the house, okay, there's only a verbal agreement, which means there are no such guarantee for their living. And they do not have the right to complain to the landlords if they want to increase the rents and a very small area living in. Okay, so the class-based assignment 3, okay, you can refer to the source that just mentioned. Okay, there are actually 4 challenges faced by the migrant workers. Okay, and then what are they? Okay, like, are they happy? Do they have long or few working hours? Okay, do they have the opportunity to earn more, or do they have a good living, or do they have the chance to have a good education for their child? And you may take a look at source F. And last but not least, you can think of if the parents actually move to work in city, okay, what will happen to the child and the elderly who are remain in the rural area? As you may take a look, actually not quite a large number of workers will migrate with their children to the urban city. Okay, so oftenly the parents go to big city to work, and then the child and also the elderly will be left in the rural area alone. Okay, so of course these will create new problems, and for these problems you may refer to the 2 links in the YouTube and then find them out more to complete the class-based assignment 4. Okay, so here it is for the whole task sheet of lesson 2. Okay, you may refer to the page number by yourself. Here it is for the PowerPoint. And also after finishing the task sheet, okay, you have to finish the form-based assignment 2, okay, and then hand in through the Google Classroom, okay, in the early of March, okay, which is related to the 3 rural issues, okay, agriculture, rural areas, as well as the farmers, which has just been mentioned in the video, okay. So thank you for watching.